Hello, welcome back to Parts Unknown here in the super secret Spy Lab. Today is day 962. Yes, so we have been very busy this year, which is good in that it provides for the financial wherewithal to be able to make all this happen. Bad because it takes away from production time in the garage. So other than a bunch in March and some in August, it is now December 7th, Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. And in between those dates, we've not gotten a lot accomplished in the garage. So when last we left this project, we were waiting on one final section of the original car to be removed before we could replace the entire understructure of the car with fresh, clean, modern steel. And that section is the transition between the back seat and the trunk area. So in literally, figuratively, ironically, chewing away at this little by little, I've come to the realization that it's going to be very challenging to retain that lateral piece. My initial thought was if I retain the lateral piece and then simply drill holes underneath, I could weld it from underneath. Well, as you can see, there is not one, but two complete layers between here and where that piece is mounted. So that's not going to work. So then I had to decide if I was going to go ahead and continue to save it or if I was just going to replace it. But I don't have to make that decision anytime soon. I just still have to get this whole section out. And because there's multiple layers that are welded together and there's frame rails and there's frame rails, it's been it's been a mortal battle with this section. But it only has to come out once and it never has to go back in again like this. And we just got to keep plugging away at it. The next opportunity to show the car is in the beginning of April, which is a national show here locally, which is my best opportunity to physically get the car trailered to a location where it can be seen. Even if it's not much more construction than what you see here. It's fine. I just continue to miss shows and miss deadlines that I set for myself because I have setbacks with regards to production. But that's a good problem to have. It means if I'm not in here, that means I'm working in my office, and if I'm working in the office, money is available to be able to continue this project. So what we're going to do today is we're going to get back at this section. We have to be very careful not to damage this plate, which is right behind here. And we have to be very careful not to damage this plate, which is right behind there. Clearly, we've removed this strip in the center. This is a heavy piece of steel. There's at least 3 layers I see right here between this and what's underneath it. So back behind here, there's 3 more layers because this is the transition that also helps support the axle. So yeah, it's gonna be fun. Oh, it's gonna be something. It's gonna be something. Let's get started. Okay, so that was about an hour and a half, which is double what I've normally been able to endure. probably because it's the winter time and it's not so hot out. As you can see, we've gotten quite a bit accomplished, which is this entire section over here, except for all this up here is cleaned up and cleaned out and removed, which is a tremendous morale boost, because this is literally the toughest stuff on the whole project. Is this, I mean, it's super thick. You can tell it was thick because it was literally having to melt the steel to get it to separate. This is a huge amount of thickness here. I think there's 3 layers plus the piece I'm trying to save. So yeah, that's going to be a real bear. But it'll be easier when I'm refreshed and fresh, instead of being an hour and a half into grinding and cutting and holding that thing up over my head. So, and then all of this weatherproofing and all this gums up everything, so I may have to try to scrape that back to make the blade last longer, because that slows everything down for sure. You can tell the difference between when there's raw steel with none of that applied, it just cuts through it like butter. And then when it gets down into this area, it slows down because of all that extra friction. Of course, all the smoke you see is from all that melting. So yeah, that was, that's what I would call a success. Getting that frame rail out before, after. This, of course, is going to be the worst part. I'm still, in my mind, trying to figure out what's the easiest way to do this, and still at the same time retaining as much of this side member as possible. I think the car is going to have enough rigid stability laterally and horizontally that if we lose some of that, it won't be that big of a deal. But every effort we can make to retain that in its original form is better for the car overall. Whoo-wee. A lot of work. But you can see the surface rust on the back side of that plate that'll all need to be addressed before we start sealing and closing everything up. Oh man. So yeah, so that's what we got going on today, is removal of that transition panel, which is easily the most challenging part of this whole process so far. It's fighting, but about 40% of it is, 35% of it is, 30% of it is gone. This up here is just going to be just staring at it and looking at it and just mortified by how impossible that's going to be to get that out of there and retain that panel up above it. All right, so that's going to be all for today. This may be a standalone episode. Yeah, we'll make it a standalone with the time lapse, just so you can see what progress was made from August until now in one day, with reasonable temperatures, although I'm still pretty roasty in my jacket. So from parts unknown and the secret lair, Project21F, on to the next adventure. Before, after. Bye-bye, Rust.